regulars and a few irregulars joining us tonight. And we are always happy that all of you take the time to listen to the show, share it with your friends, and certainly like and subscribe to our channels. But this is important that we share this. We're not sending this out everywhere. We're just trying to get good messages, positive messages out to people. And it's a labor of love for all of us to do this. So please, and if you want to make comments, please comment. Even if you comment on the replays, we will read them. So please comment. With that being said, we've got some of our regulars. Rex is with us, of course. John Horton, Barry Selby, Kellen Ann, Sandy Archer, and we got a new guest. Lynn, tell me about our new guy.
Our new guy, Matt, he's been on my friend list for a little while. He is from Montana, so we're in the same time zone. And I like some of his posts, and I got in the message with him. And I'd like for him to share a little bit about him with everyone. And we're going to be, hopefully he'll come back, and hopefully he likes us. We'll see. But I mean, one thing I like about him is that, he wants to impact the world. He wants to be able to, and this is my perspective, because you know what? One thing it's as we all see it, we have different ways of seeing things, and we're getting to know each other, and what better way than share him with my friends? But everybody has a different perspective, and one thing I do like is when I see him have friends that see different viewpoint with him, he respects them having their viewpoint, and he sees it their way, and he shares his way. And sometimes I notice when he shares his way, some people don't realize it's his Facebook wall, and he's just sharing his perspective. And yet I notice that he doesn't mind their perspective and their criticism on his perspective. And yet I think when he's answering back his perspective again, they may see his being like offensive. And I don't think he is trying to defend himself. He's trying to also elaborate to how he sees his perspective. So I thought this would be a great platform for him to share with us his perspective, because that's what my TV network is trying to do, is share everybody's different ways. And here we respect everybody from having their own perspective. So I felt that we should invite him here, because he's doing great things. I mean, he's like all of us. We've all have paths, and he's taking a different path from where he's been. And I'm not going to take and step on his toes. I want him to share a little bit about it. And I want to commend him from where he's been. And he's very open and honest where he's been. And I love that about him already. And I respect it. So Matt, take it away.
Sure. Hi, I'm Matt. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me. Originally from Portland, Oregon, but I live out here in Montana now, where there's three of us. And as we spoke about earlier, but I'm a doctoral candidate with Montana State University Bozeman, history and philosophy. I'm also the chair of the Carbon County Historic Preservation Commission up in Red Lodge in my county. So we preserve local, buildings, roads, just artifacts that have been created by humans, and try to get them out there for the public to be able to enjoy, and for future generations as well. My work centers around Native American experiences in the American West, and in that I've discovered that we don't all appreciate each other the way we should, and seeing some of the things that happen in our communities and all that. And so I try to, as Lynn pointed out, express that we all have a different perspective, and sometimes how we look at other people is exclusive. We exclude people from the rest of society and our culture. And so I'm trying to bring everybody together, to where everybody can enjoy the same rights that each and every one of us has, the seeking life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and all that's guaranteed by our Constitution. So that's kind of where I come from, and just a peek into my perspective.
Wow. We appreciate that. I love the exploration into Native American culture and stuff too. I spent a lot of time up in New York with the Onondaga Nation, and in New Jersey with the Lenapes, and learned a lot more from them than I ever learned from public schools. I'll tell you that. Amazing, the way they teach. That everything is generational. Everything is stories that's told from person to person, And it's something that we've lost in our culture is respecting our elders and bringing this information down from person to person and coming together as a tribe. We've lost a lot of that. So it's beautiful to see somebody really looking at that. So we appreciate you, Matt. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. So shall we, what?
Our topic.
Oh, okay. Our topic. Let's talk about our topic. As always, we try to tackle topics. And again, I want to remind people, if you're listening and you like the show, and hell, even if you don't like the show, comment. And if you got a topic you'd like us to discuss, please bring it up. You know, we cover a lot of different things. Today, we're talking about taking responsibility for our world. Now, if you want to discuss it globally, that we're all responsible for the health of our planet, we can talk about that. I was really thinking more about our personal worlds. The people I work with, my family, my community, myself, taking responsibility. Stop spending time looking for people to blame. We're in the perfect season for that because we got a year of elections and commercials where we get to spend all the time in the world blaming everybody for every problem we have. But I'm talking about taking personal responsibility to say, if I want the world to be better, it's my job to get up and do that. If I want people to live in harmony, I need to bring harmony. I need to bring peace. If I want understanding, I got to show understanding. We have responsibilities. Sitting back and expecting others to do for us, that should end by the time we are toilet trained. We need to learn how to do things. And unfortunately, we have carried this childlike, everybody's got to do for me, and I do for nothing, that we brought that into adulthood in a lot of ways. And that's got to stop. We need to be responsible. Stop blaming and start looking for what can I do to be part of the solution. That's what I want to talk about today. I know it's not a popular topic. Most people fail at things not because, I'll tell you now, for recovery, addiction and alcoholism and recovery, most people fail not because they're afraid it won't work, but because they're afraid it will work. Because if it works and I stop drinking, it means I've got to be a responsible human being. I've got to go to work. I got to pay bills. I got to be nice. I got to do all these things. And it's so much easier when I just get to be drunk and blame the world for my problems. So we're afraid of responsibility. We run from it. And I'm telling you right now, there's nothing more rewarding than tackling new responsibilities and being a part of it. Because responsibility doesn't mean it's a job. It doesn't mean it's a toil. We use the word responsibility. We immediately think it's a bad thing. It's not. You know, it's part of what enhances who we are and makes us feel like we're productive human beings. It's a beautiful thing. So let's just run with that. If anybody wants to jump and go first, just start talking and we'll put you in the middle. Or we'll sit in silence for a half hour.
Matt, do you want to say anything? I mean, we're being nice right away, but if you want to say anything,
don't throw them in first.
No, I'm just asking him.
To the wolves.
Or we could start with Barry. I mean, like you said, I'll wait 2 seconds before I throw.
Well, next show we're not going to be nice.
Oh, there we go. Okay, now you're in the corner.
My general way of looking at things is when I meet anybody, as I'm meeting all of you today, is that we all have a right to exist. And that if I recognize that in every single person that I meet, wherever I travel across the planet, that they have the exact same right to be here as I do, then that makes it a lot easier to interact with them. And it just opens up the lines of communication right off the bat, so that, you know, we're all just people here and we're all just trying to live in the same existence, just like the next person. And it's almost like Spock's old "live long and prosper." You know, it's a way to meet in on that, right? Let's all meet together on the same page.
I like that. I like that.
You know what? And real quick, because I got to take a 2-minute break here in a second, but I think it really comes down to one person at a time. You know, it's not a group. It's like something you said, Scott. And I've been doing this shit for way too long, man. And I'm never retiring. It's never going to happen. But you make one impression on one person. And I'll never forget, I think I told this story a long time ago. I was coming off the train in Chicago, got to be 10 years ago. Some lady walked up and she said, "Man, that pocket square looks great. Have an amazing day." I had my day because that lady at 6:30 in the morning said something simple to me. So to me, I carried that forward. Make a nice comment. Don't be creepy, but make a nice comment. Say something nice to someone. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to go home and say, "You know what? I met some guy. When we do our mortgage deals, I always tell my guys, if you're going to send flowers to your client, don't send them to the house, send them to the office. Because what's that going to do? That might touch 10, 15 people. Oh, Lynn, who gave you the flowers? Your husband? No, my mortgage guy. All right, that's weird, but he's pretty cool. So again, you touch more people in that one delivery, that one conversation, that one comment that you made. So I think people get so caught up in trying to make such a big impression. I think you make a bigger impression if you do it one at a time, one a day, 30 a day, 360 a year. And wherever your voice carries from them, it's got to be over 1,000.
And everybody was worried about the milkman, but I'm just saying.
John, you know what? You're absolutely right. If everybody adopted that I don't have to go out and change the world. All I got to do is make one person smile today. All I got to do is share with myself. If I have the opportunity, maybe to look up from my goddamn phone for a minute and see the person standing in front of me, acknowledge them, and say something kind. If everybody would adopt that, the world would change. And it takes that much. It's just a little bit of work. And just for a disclaimer for the Lynn and Scott and Friends show, when John talks about reaching out and touching people, he's not talking about physically touching people. Don't get on a subway, start grabbing people. It's not what we're talking about. We don't need anybody going to jail because John said that shit, all right? He's talking about touching their hearts. He's talking about touching their hearts.
But actually, Scott, I want to jump in on what you said, though, because that whole point about getting away from our phones is one of the biggest distractions and detractions from being involved in your world. I mean, just when I'm driving around, you watch people walking into stores, walking across the street, they're not even looking where they're going because their cell phone's right in their face. I mean, they must have developed like a sixth sense to know where they're walking. Thank you, Rex, for the demonstration. That's the thing. It's like because our cell phones are really great things to have when you use them as tools, not as distractions.
Yes.
So part of the journey from getting to be responsible for your life and your world is to be in it, not away from it.
Yes.
So a lot of people unfortunately live through social media. They live through, and this is the other part. A lot of people live and die literally from the likes they get on their posts on social media. That's part of the issue we have, is that human interaction, not necessarily touching, like to met John, but the fact we connect with people in our everyday life, like Matt was saying, when you meet new people, is can you be interested in who they are, not just what you can get from them. That's another part, by the way. But also how you can get involved in the conversation of getting to know somebody in real life, because most people, frankly, are really good at like commenting and blasting people on social media. When you're face to face, they wouldn't do that. So why not treat each other with respect wherever you are? That's a starting point.
Could we call that we have a responsibility to be more kind and to do those things and to pay more attention to those around us? Can we call that a responsibility?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
You know, and it's just like the little things. Oh, Kellen's, go ahead, Kellen. Go, sister.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. You can say
No,
what
go
you're gonna
ahead.
say.
No, go ahead.
No, this year I implemented 3 rules that I was going to live by. And
Only
one
3?
of it was pay it forward. One of it was to smile at somebody. And the second one, obviously I show gratitude. That's been a lifelong thing. But what's the word? Implementing those 3 concepts in my world, I feel like that's my major contribution to taking responsibility for our world. Thank you.
Yeah.
I love you.
Take a bow. That's
I love you.
Well, I have something to say too.
You know, the simple things. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, sister.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say the simple things is, the simple things of just like saying happy birthday to somebody or sending. I even got a 7-second clip yesterday from somebody who's been my friend that I've met in person for like 6 years now. And they actually this time took time, 7 seconds, because I could see the little counter, 7 seconds to say happy birthday, Lynn. I'm thinking about you. And it was just like, that 7 seconds just meant the world, because I know that the last 7 years of being friends, they never took that time. And it's so funny. Like, and then what's funny is you get like over 500 birthday wishes. And what's funny is they mean a lot, But even the daily people you talk to, you notice when they don't say happy birthday. So it does. But what I'm saying is it makes that much of a big difference to you because it's a little thing that is a big thing. So take that second just to say those things and say happy birthday. It's okay, Barry. I noticed you didn't put our picture up for a happy birthday this year. That's okay. No, just kidding. I love you, Barry.
But a quick point on that before Sandy goes. The thing about social media, particularly Facebook, is one of the gifts it has is you get notifications every day of whose birthday is coming up.
Yep.
Mhm.
I think a lot more people wishing people happy birthday because of Facebook than did in their outside life. I'm now making a diligent effort when I get people's like Facebook reminders that their birthday is. If I have them my contact in my phone, I'll add it to their contact in case.
Yeah.
You're so good about that. You're so good about that.
I wish you would have noticed my birthday a little sooner, though.
I know. Well, but that's the thing. I love when he says happy birthday to people. I try to say happy birthday.
Remember, on West
them
Coast, it's about
or
3
him.
hours behind some people.
But he's real. But you know what? It's okay you didn't do that for me this year because I know you do it for everybody else, and I love that about
He didn't
you.
do it for me.
That's okay. But I met him in person. We got a picture together. But that's okay.
Sandy,
I noticed he does it for everybody, though, and I love that. That's great.
Wait,
So to continue,
Kellyanne, are you literally doing the Brady Bunch thing? Because when you looked at Barry, he was this way, and you put your hand and did this, and then when you were talking to Lynn, you did this. Are you really doing this?
Yeah, she does. Yeah,
Are you doing it on purpose?
So I was going to talk about taking responsibility.
I can talk to
for the
Sandy like
world.
this.
That was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
we've obviously gone off the responsibility topic. Our new topic is how has Barry disappointed us? So,
I get a whole teaching of that in a minute, but Sandy, go ahead.
I don't remember getting a birthday greeting from him either. But anyway, it's okay. It's okay. It was back in May. It's okay.
Check your history.
You're right.
Can you look down and to your right when you say that, Sandy? Because no, other way. That's it.
Sorry.
I have to
Sorry,
look this
Rex.
way. to look
Sorry,
at
Rex.
him.
all right, Sandy, we're glad you're here.
Okay,
It's-
taking responsibility for
There we
our
go. There we
world.
go.
When I heard that topic, I thought of it probably more in like the Greenpeace section.
Okay.
Like, so here locally we have the Chesapeake Bay. So a lot of people go out and pick up trash and do things like that. And so I always feel like those are the perfect times to feel like I'm doing something, at least a little thing, because we're cleaning up the bay. And I'm part of an organization called Team Rubicon, and it helps with emergency preparedness and all that. So I like to go, I like to volunteer for a lot of things, but just picking up trash, it makes you feel better. I mean, like you're doing something, and I think it is our responsibility to do that. I don't walk past a plastic bag flying down the parking lot. It's those little things like you're talking about, just being nice to somebody. It's also keeping our planet clean and doing those types of things to help, with the world. One plastic bag going into the water, us who are cleaning up the bay find it later, but what kind of damage has it done? So those kind of things are, I think we just overlook. When you get into a big city, you just step over trash and everything. And what if you didn't? What if you just picked it up, threw it in the trash can, which a lot of people do. I do see them do it. It's not like they don't.
It piles up. It would pile up.
It does.
So
But the funny thing is the people who step over the trash are on their way to talk to somebody and complain about how trashy the city is.
Right.
Instead of taking a moment to pick something up and do something.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's our responsibility, and our responsibility to just do that thing. It's funny. I don't know if you guys experienced this, but since COVID or after COVID, I go to open a door for somebody and they stand back, and I'm like, should I do the door opening thing anymore? Is that like allowed or
Keep doing
not?
it. Keep
Or
doing it.
I don't even know the rules anymore. Kind
They'll
of.
get used to it. Keep doing it.
There's a picture of us together.
Oh.
Just saying.
That would have been a great post.
You have to scoop that in. Yeah.
Lynn has not let that
Rex,
go yet.
save me, Rex.
Did you Photoshop me into that picture?
What?
Save me, Rex.
What's that?
Save me.
Save you?
What's that?
Yeah.
Oh, all right,
That's
I'll
right.
save Barry.
Oh, okay, Barry.
I'm
I
kidding.
love you, Barry.
You know,
For
for
myself.
those of us who live
This
in the
is for
United
Barry.
States, for those of us who live in the United States, you know, we have, you know, a document that says, you know, that every person has the right to happiness, liberty, and the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least that's what it says. That's not what we get in practice. What we get in practice is people telling you how you're supposed to live those or fulfill those rights and what you can do and not do. And there are people who, you know, are stepping all over other people, you know, and saying, well, you should be responsible for this, but we're responsible for you. We are determining what your restrictions are, what your limitations are, what your boundaries are. Now, and with due respect, you know, I mean, we came to this country and took it from people who were here and made a new nation out of it. And then we're at the point where the people of this nation are trying to tell everybody around the world how they're supposed to live, and everybody around the world is supposed to, and their neighbors are telling each other, and people are, you know, and everybody's arguing over what is right and what is wrong. You know, here's the extent of what you can do. You can be responsible for your thoughts. Other than that, you really can't be responsible for much else. Your thoughts lead to your feelings and to your speech and to your behaviors. So if you control your thinking, hopefully you control your feelings, your speech, and your behaviors, especially when it comes to someone else. Now, what can you do? You can clean your campground.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you responsible for? You know, if you go to the natural way of things, if you took out a tree, you plant a tree. If you burn, you know, something, you grow something. If you make something a mess, you clean it up. If each of us took responsibility for our person, our space, our you know, what our part of the world, not other people's parts of the world, not telling them what they should do with it, not they shouldn't pick up litter or not pick up litter or do this or do that. We do it. Then one by one by one by one, we end up changing the world. Because the only thing, you know, if I tell you how you have to live, I'm not letting you be responsible for anything. And you can't take responsibility if I'm telling you what you must do.
It's a dictatorship right there.
Well, right. Well, and that's what we face worldwide, but that's certainly what we're facing here. Not just with a dictator, but the notion of dictating how people should live their lives, what they should do with their bodies, what they should do with their money, what they should do with their energy, what they should do with their property, what they should do with their, you know, whether they can or can't grow food on their property. I mean, there's all sorts of things where people are, you know, imposing their will on other people instead of allowing us the freedom to pursue our lives, our liberty, and happiness as we see fit for ourselves. Now, I get it. We're a society. There should be some order, some rule, some concern, so that those people who would violate others can't just do that with free rein. You know. I mean, it's sad that we create a government that's supposed to assist the people, and then the government becomes worried about being overthrown by the people it's trying to. But at any rate, this is not as political as it may sound, because what it's saying is the only thing that you can control is yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you control yourself and take responsibility for yourself and clean up your mess where you are, like clean your plate. And one of the beautiful Bible dishes that Jesus, Bible phrases that Jesus said is, you know, is that the inside of the cup must be washed first. And the inside of the bowl or the plate must be washed first, and then take care of the rest of the bowl or the plate or the cup, because you have to take care of who you are. Now, that said, what John said, what Kellen said, what Sandy said, what everybody has said so far is, and here's a song that saves all of us, and it's a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down.
Okay.
Unless you're diabetic.
You can always find a counterexample. This is true, but the point is, you know, it's like so many people are hurling insults and vinegar and horrible things at each other instead of, you know, thinking about how if I have a message, how do I make it palatable? How do I make it acceptable? How do I elicit from the other person the kind of responses that I would like them to have, instead of forcing them to my ideas and forcing them to adopt these things and forcing them to think differently? How do I draw it from them? What do I do? Well, you try and, it's not just dressing it up. It's just making it palatable. It's making it appealing. It's making it something that somebody else would desire, so that they too want to be involved. And the problem with most of us, politically and otherwise, is that we insist people do things without making it something that they want to do. We try and legislate morality. We try and legislate thinking. We try and legislate ending hatred and all these kind of things, instead of saying, you know what, let's make some introductions here to ways of life and people and things like that, so that we can all get along and enjoy. So instead of trying to outlaw and just restrict everybody, we should be inviting, we should be including, we should be demonstrating. And when I say we should, I'm doing the very thing that I'm telling us not to do.
Right. Right. But you're also addressing, though, everybody says, I want this and I want that. Well, if that's what you want, there is a clear path to that. It's kindness, it's responsibility, it's this stuff. You started with the most basic principle, which is your thoughts, you're responsible for your thoughts. If you don't like your thoughts, you're responsible to change those thoughts or to do something different. But your thoughts become words, your words become actions, your actions become habits, your habits become your character and your destiny, and it goes on. But it all starts. And there's people out there that are brutal, people out there that are mean or unkind or judgmental, and it all starts with their thoughts, but they don't even take responsibility for those, because it's either I think that way because of what happened to me, so you're in a victim mode, or that there's nothing I could do to change it, and you become powerless. Everything can be changed, but Rex, you're right. The most basic thing is you can't heal anything until you heal this. Until this becomes peaceful and loving and kind, what do you expect things to happen around you? It won't be. But that's everyone's individual responsibility. Yeah, it's not fair for me to go around and say everybody needs to hold hands and sing Kumbaya. That's not fair for me to do that. But I could say, boy, in my world, I'd love to see that happen. Who wants to join me? That's the best I could do. Right, Rex?
Well, right. And the other thing is when you start controlling your own thoughts so that they are, optimistic and positive and beneficial for yourself, that you want to live a happy, healthy lifestyle, then you allow yourself to extend that to other people. Because there are people who will come in and they'll go to a campground and they'll take advantage of it. They'll leave it, in disarray, and then someone will come in and complain about those people who did that and how their job is now nastier. In other words, that's again another thought. Maybe instead of all of the kind of critical stuff that goes on, if we just understood that, some people are going to do that. So instead of blaming them, how do we change ourselves to clean up the mess? It's what I had to do when my daughter was young. She soiled her diapers. I didn't go, you stupid little brat, for soiling your diaper. For God's sake. You know what I mean? That was part of what it was. Well, some adults are no different than that child when it comes to the way they live their life. They just do it without thought, without care, without whatever. And then we blame them. And you know what? It's that saying of Buddha that when you're angry, it's like drinking poison, thinking it's going to hurt somebody else. And it's just hurting us. If we're mad at the world for not doing what we think they should be doing. Exactly. And guess what that is? That's a projection from us because we're not happy with.
That's right.
We're not doing.
We're part of the problem.
Absolutely. That's
the thing is, we like you're saying, the campground, people will be saying it's their responsibility to do it, not mine. So they basically disown the value of doing something themselves. It's so true. It's like the things we can do in the world, like Sandy was saying, opening the door for people. We can go beyond our own space to help other people. As simple as that. Putting money in somebody else's parking meter so they don't get a ticket. That sort of thing can be fun.
Oh, but don't let a cop see you. Don't let a cop see you.
Yeah, you'll get in trouble.
Yeah, it's just like management telling you that they want something done, but they don't want to start it by starting the line. They want it to be started by the employees.
So I will get a couple of illustrations of that, because I was listening to the radio this morning on my hike, and there's a school in LA, because the radio was talking about this, where the school teacher decided to help the kids do something different, because food waste is a big thing in America. Like, internationally, it's a big issue. A lot of food waste. People throw stuff away half eaten, goes to landfills, create methane, big problem. What they decided to do was take all the food the kids left over from lunch and create a compost, like one of these big, like 5 foot tall, like compost dome things. They've generated over 5,000 pounds of compost. And the funny thing is, the kids are involved in it. And so when the kids got at the end of the time, when they're going to take the compost out and put it into the flower beds and everything in the school, the kids smell it. It smells like dirt. It doesn't smell like manure. It smells like earth. And so they're making a difference just in their school. But the thing about that is the kids then tell the parents, and it starts to trickle out. So that little project is starting to expand and make a big difference. Something I got involved with about a month ago. I'm starting to do every Saturday now. There's a group. I've got the T-shirt, Afro Active. If you see, I've actually got it this way.
Oh, cool.
Oh, that's neat.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. Basically, this guy from Kenya who lives in LA now, he started back then in like 2010. He started 3 years ago. His wife is American. This project where we go and take food bank food and distribute to lower income families. And I started doing this about a month ago. And now I'm addicted to it. So every Saturday we get together, we unload the food, we distribute it to cars lined up, like 70 or 80 cars, and about 35, 40 people lined up with boxes of food every Saturday. And the thing is, that's 2-3 hours of my time per week. Yeah, I may get some calluses, I may get like some bruises, but that's the only expense on my part that I have to do. But the difference it makes to other people. So we have opportunities around us, abundant opportunities around us in cities, in country, where we can do things to make other people's lives better. They don't cost us anything. So why not be generous with your heart and your soul and do something, make a valuable effort,
Well, if you look at kids things like 4-H club and stuff like that, where they get kids involved and they end up with animals or whatever and taking care of livestock or something, you end up with, granted there are always going to be exceptions, but you end up with more people who take better care of themselves and the world around them. And it's by inclusion, and it's by example, it's by demonstrating what can be done. When you do something like that, or when people feed the homeless, or when they take, Thanksgiving, people go around and deliver turkeys, and then there's 364 days that they don't.
Right. Yeah.
But the point is that when people do that, not only do people benefit, but there's a synergistic effect that happens when you're involved in doing something like what you just described, where these kids are seeing the results of their efforts and how that's working and how that changes. And if we would do that more and invite people to, if you go save the whales, so people go, oh, the whales don't deserve to be saved. And other people go, oh, yeah, save the whales. And then people fight over whether you should or shouldn't, or how you should or should. If you just involve people, in assisting other people, regardless of anything, we're just here to help however we can help, and get people with that kind of mindset. Perhaps we can, uplift people in that regard. But you can't enforce these things. You have to invite these things.
Right.
Absolutely. It's kind of the law of attraction rather than promotion. If you're doing the right things, people will gravitate towards you. They're going to want to be a part of that. And it's, hey, listen, I come from the world where there's a period of time when nobody would talk to me. Okay. I was on my way to jail again, or I was, back on the streets or doing whatever I was doing, and I was sick, and people would cross the street to avoid me, and I smelled, and I was that guy that everybody was afraid of in the city, that they didn't know if I was going to hurt you or rob you or do whatever. And I know what it feels like to look up at the world and see nobody wants to make eye contact with you, and I can't tell you, there's not a more lonely feeling than seeing this. Even with my own family, they didn't want to look me in the face because they couldn't bear to look at me, because it caused them pain too. But that loneliness, and to know that I have been given a gift, more than most people, I don't deserve it the way there's so many great people out there that I've lost that probably would be better human beings in this world today. But I've been given a gift, and part of my responsibility is to make sure that if I got to take care of me, of course, put my oxygen mask on first, and I do that. But then I have a responsibility to check around me and see who else needs lifting up. I have that responsibility. I've been given everything I've been given in my life, everything I earned in my life. my art, my house, my whatever I have. Nothing I've achieved in my life was done alone. Not one thing. I'm not arrogant enough to think, oh, I did it all on my own. There's always been somebody helping me somewhere. Somebody has already helped. If I got a promotion, if I got a new business, somebody helped. And that tells me that the things that I have should be shared. I have a responsibility to share. And that's me. I want the rest of the world to get this message. I want to get it out there. I want to grab them by their throats and choke them until they become nice people. Until they become nice.
Scott, that's not how we do it, honey.
I want to posit something, and that is, why do you suppose that, like, if you have a garden space, let's just isolate it as a garden space, that all manner of different plants, grow in there, and as do weeds, as do all the different types of insects, as do the birds and the deer and the raccoon and the possum and, the ants. I mean, everything, in this little space. Why is it that can all coexist together, but people who should be at the top of the food chain with thinking can't get along?
Why? Because we believe I think it's because we're entitled.
I
believe that's part of it.
No, I think
it's because we make exclusive relationships. I liked what you said earlier, Rex, about cleaning out your own campsite. Something in environment. Our university is an environmental university. It's on land grant land. And so what we're talking a lot about is doing things locally as much as possible. Go to your farmers markets, enjoy local music. When you meet somebody walking around town, and you see that awkward look, like, who is this person? Go talk to them. Don't just like shuffle by as if, this is an uncomfortable situation and all that. So here in our town, for example, all the shops were closed up when I moved here 20 years ago. And now we're doing a revitalization, a beautification effort here. All the shops are reopened. There's new businesses. They're often selling locally made items or locally grown items. And when I was in Spain recently, I noticed the same thing. We've got 14th and 15th century buildings. And at one point they looked like they were all closed up, but yet now they're being revitalized. And they've got little craft beer places or one-off restaurants or people making candied dried fruit or, craft items, but they're all local individual businesses and not these corporate giants, right? And so if we tend to try to do business at the lowest level possible, we improve the culture of our local community, and then that'll spread out from there.
And I would offer that is because of the relationships that are formed at that level, which you don't see when it's like social media and corporations and oligarchies and massive supermarkets and everything else. And I do disagree with you, Eric. Yes, there's some competition, but they're collaborating. They're coexisting together in spite of competition. So,
yeah, absolutely. So, responsibility. We've kind of covered a lot on personal responsibility and thought, and then even servicing the world. And Sandy, I love the work that you do in the Chesapeake. Sometimes my father and I we'll rent a sailboat and we'll sail the Chesapeake for 4 or 5 days. And it's a beautiful piece of water. It's beautiful. So thank you for the work you do there. And all of you guys, all the stuff you're mentioning, thanks for doing this kind of work. And we're talking about a group of people who take responsibility for their worlds and for their lives. But we are not the majority. We're the exception. The majority still wants to find blame. Why is that? Why is it easier to blame than to take up the mantle and do something? Does anybody have an answer for that?
That's easy.
Go ahead.
It's basic for most people. The less effort, the better. So being lazy. Also, if you're responsible, it means you're going to be accountable. And a lot of people don't want to be accountable to anything except their own comfort. So the idea, like what Matt's saying, like doing things locally, to buy food locally, music locally, all those things locally, that's an effort, but it's not that big an effort. So people could do that. But to go out and feed the homeless or do other things 365 days a year, that's a much bigger commitment, which makes you accountable to that. And so a lot of people are not willing to take on the accountability.
I see. So Kellen, you spend a lot of your time, and what you do is about spreading cheer and stuff like that. Now, you're doing it. I know you talk about it before. You do it because it's a calling and stuff. But is that part of your responsibility to do that for other people? Is that something you take on and become accountable for that?
It's a personal choice that I do it.
Right.
I mean, I choose to do it because that's what I can give. That's what my contribution can be, that I feel that I'm good at. So I was just thinking, and my little contribution is like I rescue pugs, like senior pugs. And I rescue like 30 a year. All over the country. I've got little feelers. Like if somebody calls me, they have a dog. I find a state. I'm okay. You need someone in Virginia? I know 5 people. I have a whole spreadsheet that I keep people, and I know it's it's a dog, but it's a dog, And I put the senior pugs with the senior citizens, and so that way the senior citizens aren't alone. The pugs don't have to spend the rest of their life in a shelter. And then when the senior citizen passes away, they give the dog back to me, so the family doesn't have to worry about placing the dog in a pound. So between
awesome.
the gratitude and those are my little contributions.
I love it.
But if you think about it, I write 52 gratitude Mondays a year. I write more than 52 a year, but I religiously, my ritual is every Monday to write a thank you card. But if I send that to 52 people, and then 52 people send it to 52 people, and 52. I mean, we got a lot of gratitude going on, and that just brings joy. And that is taking responsibility and my responsibility is to bring joy to the world. That's what I'm trying to do. So,
yeah.
So,
boy, it's almost like if you can do it, you should do it. If you can do it, you should do it.
Right.
Ahead,
And,
Sam.
I feel better than the people that get the letter because it makes me feel happy to acknowledge somebody or thank somebody or lift somebody. I mean,
and that's just it. You started it from you. So if you do it because it makes you feel good, that's what we should be doing. Things that make us feel good.
Right.
Exactly. Because you live with yourself. That's what people forget about.
That's what I was gonna jump on is where do you think the root of that comes from? I know the roots of why I do certain things came from a grandmother that I had that did those things. So we have roots, that start pretty young. And just think, I thought about that with my children when I was raising them. It's like, what am I teaching them? What are we teaching our children? Where does that come from? And I think about my grandmother. She went and she put flowers on all her family's grave sites. And then we did like this whole graveyard to the nursing home to the, and that's where the roots of it started with me. I'm like, oh, so we have to do those things. Like, I didn't know. I'm a kid. I don't know that I don't have to do those things. I was just taught that by routine and by something that she did and that she felt like she was making a difference, and doing certain things. And so I think that's where it starts. How are we parenting? How were we parented? What is it that, and we really need to look at that. And if we weren't parented like that, then how do we change that? It has to start with us. So,
Exactly.
that's really where it comes. It has to start with us, and it has to go down and up and, all around. So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Well, Kellyanne, Pippi Longstocking, as your name is now going forward. What I wrote down is you can do it, but do you do it?
Mm-hmm.
It really is the question. And, I do it every day, 5 cards a day, handwritten notes. And you made a great point, Pippi. If you can do it, why can't you do it? No one is that busy every day not to reach out, to text, phone call, email, not so much, handwritten note, a lot, to get it a few days later. That goes such a long way. It goes such a long way. I know we've talked about it, but man, it's such common sense, especially in these days. People need that pat on the back. Matt, you need a pat on the back for what you've done, jumping on here, man, for what you've done, for what you've got involved in. And you look at Barry or Scott or I'm John or Sandy or Rex or Kellen. And I mean, I could write a letter to all you guys. It'd take me 5 minutes. What would that mean when you got? What would that do for you to send to someone else? It drives me nuts how simple it is. But anyway, Pippi, you're the best.
Pippi is peppy, big time.
You know,
Thank
one
you,
thing
John.
that I've noticed here too is that, you know, we get a lot of people that will say, "Oh, well, look at this homeless problem out here, and look at the mess they're making, and they need to get a job, and they, you know, they, and it's anger. It's angry at what they're doing." But you know, as you see this type of thing, what I've done personally is I park my car, and I get out, and then I walk among them, and I speak with them, and I learn from their experience, right? And so then, you know, next thing I know, I'm like, oh wow, I need to use the restroom. And you're thinking, now where do I do that? You know? And so I asked them, and they're like, well, nobody around here lets you use the restroom, right? And you see that on these businesses for paying customers only. And so you find out that they've worked out a way to find the places. And so one local example in Billings is the library, the public library. And so you'll see homeless people going in and out of the public library all of the time. When I went in there, I wandered around the library and I see homeless people sleeping in the chairs in the library, or just on a computer, even sleeping at the computer with their head down. You know, we kind of get an idea of how these people find resources, and they'll explain, well, on Tuesdays, this church over here gives out a lunch at this time. And on Thursdays, we got to go 10 blocks down this way and they give out some free clothing. But if everybody tried to reach out and stop and talk to these folks, learn from them, and then offer more resources, pretty soon, all the resources would be available for homeless people that they need, and they wouldn't be homeless anymore.
Love that.
Wow. We're getting towards, we got about 13 minutes left, which is going to be, it's time for Callahan. It's time for the rally cats. We need to rally for the end here.
Yeah, Matt, at the end, we try to go around and go ahead, Scott, explain.
You know, just kind of wrap up thoughts. One thing I want to put in everybody's head for a moment is I know, and I hear this a lot from people, is that what I do doesn't make a difference. My vote doesn't count. What I do doesn't make a difference, you know, and they're overwhelmed. Like, I can't solve the homeless problem. Nobody's asking you to solve it. But if you give one person something, then somebody else can take care of the next person, then the next person. I think it's a story. Barry, maybe you could help me because I know you're so good with these stories. There's no horses involved. Don't worry.
We have inside jokes here all the time.
About the starfish, the beach and the starfish and the guy throwing them back. I don't remember exactly how it goes if somebody wants, but that's one thing makes a difference. Go ahead, Barry.
Well, basically, this guy walks down to the beach and sees this kid like grabbing starfish to throw back in the ocean. Apparently, because what happened is all the starfish came up on the shore because it was that season, whatever it was. And so this guy goes, the kid's crazy. He's throwing them one at a time. There's thousands of these damn things here. And the thing is, he goes to the kid and says, "What are you doing trying to throw it? You can't get all these starfish back in the ocean." The kid says, "Doesn't matter. It matters to this one, throws in the ocean, and to this one, throws in the ocean." So it's about relativity. It's about you can make a difference where you are, kind of what Matt was saying earlier. Do it locally.
Yeah. And I think people get wrapped up sometimes in the whole world's problems instead of saying, like Rex said, change your thoughts. That you can do. And that will have a ripple effect. All these things will have ripple effects. Doing one act of kindness can have a ripple effect. And people run from their responsibility because they look at the whole thing. Just take your piece. Just take your piece and do what you could do. So let's wrap up. Rex, you want to start?
Let me add to that, and that is that the idea that my vote doesn't count, I'm only one, and everything about that's a thought.
Right, exactly.
That's why we have to take control of everything. And people go, "There's nothing I can do." Well, how did you come to that conclusion? Well, because those are all thoughts. They're reasons that we provide, but they're all up here. You know, you may look at the world and decide because you don't see everything. You only see what you notice, that you're aware of, that you see. And if you're focused on the problem and the issues and the things that are wrong, it's like what you resist persists. So if you're going, this is why I take umbrage, if such a thing is possible, when people say you must change your limiting beliefs. I go, well, how did you come to that belief? But I mean, that's the point. Yes, you could, and it may be desirable, but who says you have to? You know, that's your thinking. So
Yeah.
if we start here and we fix our own thoughts about what the world should do and what others should do and how we don't have enough and how we can't be enough and how everybody else is this and we start going, you know what, I can make a difference. I can make a difference in my life. I can be happier in this moment than I was in the last moment. I can be better off in this moment than I was in the last moment. I can feel healthier in this moment by what I do for myself. Then we can extend that, because if we're thinking healthy and optimistic and positively and feel like we can do and have an effect on the world, we can also, by our example, without having to preach about it, but by walking the talk, other people can see the same thing, and they'll either join you or they don't. But, you know, the point is that the more people who start tossing starfish, the more impact we will have. So it'll happen. But you have to allow for it to happen, and that starts with us. And when I say this, I'm not of the illusion that our thinking is just between our ears. It's in our system. It's in our body. It's our system, you know, and it's part of the universe. We aren't separate from the universe like we'd like to think we are. We're all part of one big cosmic soup.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, soup. We're on soup now. No, but I love it.
Chili.
I love that fact. The truth is that the more connected you feel to things, the less it becomes a responsibility, and the more it becomes just a part of what you do, is to be more a part of things. So that's kind of cool. John, what do you say, man? What are your thoughts to wrap up the show here?
Honest to God, he lost me at soup, to be honest with you. I have no idea where we're going. All I'm saying is it's amazing how you can get a bunch of people together, have the same common theme, and share the business, share what's happening, and share being positive, especially this time of the year. You know, if you get people out there that are, you know, you get people now that are bummed, you see Facebook posts, you see LinkedIn posts. I really think what you need to do is send them a post to make them feel positive, because this time of year is bad for a lot of people. Don't make them feel bad, please. But I was looking at my notes, Scott, and they're totally screwed up after all this conversation. I have no idea. I mean, there's things. My biggest thing is do it, man.
There we go.
Stay with people. Stay connected with people this time of year. Matt, thank you so much for coming on. Honestly, there's so many people right now that need help. Don't forget a goofy Facebook post or a goofy LinkedIn post. It may be goofy to you, but if you can make someone feel better about themselves this time of year, go ahead and respond. Have a great Christmas, guys.
Love you, John.
Love you, John. Sandy.
Oh,
All right.
Sandy.
I looked like Barry for a minute. Anyway, so like you guys are all, just do it. You have to make a decision. You can't change your mindset until you decide to. You can't do anything until you decide to. You know, what is that's going to make you decide to do that? It has to come from in here. It has to be in your heart. You know, like Rex was saying, it's all connected. So we just have to make a decision here, and then go forward. So that's all I gotta say.
Oh,
I love that. Kellen, you look like you've been writing, babe.
I have. I always write. But I'm, once again, short and sweet. It all starts at home and within your heart. Be kind, pay it forward, show gratitude, and smile.
I love you, Kellen.
Wow. All right. Barry.
Oh, that.
Boy.
Top that, Barry.
See, Barry's in a unique situation because he works with relationships. And when relationships go south, it's always about blame.
50 ways to leave your lover. I mean, 50 ways to keep your lover or something like that.
To love your lover.
Love your lover.
So to speak to that point, one of the biggest challenges I think a lot of us face is that we don't necessarily accept or appreciate or even understand other people. I was on a podcast yesterday that'll be launched later this month talking about leadership and about relationships. Most people, unfortunately, when they get to a certain point, just look down on other people. I talked about servant leadership, as a book by Greenfield from many years ago. The idea being is that when you are in the front to lead, your job is to make sure that everybody behind you gets led in a way that they can lead themselves. Meaning that when we're out in the world making a difference, we don't do it just to say, look at you, you're down there, I'm up here, I'm helping you. It's like, no, how can I help you lift up? How can I help you step up? When we go feed the needy families, they whatever the lifestyles, we don't know, but we know we're touching their lives and making them feel better. And it's not about us being like, I'm taking care of myself. I don't need anything from you, but I can help you, so you're worse off than I am. That's not the mindset. Truly making a difference and being responsible for our world is to realize that everybody, like we said earlier, everybody is worth being loved, worth being liked, worth being respected. So I guess bottom line is, can you respect everybody around you? There's your homework.
Absolutely. Wow. Now, Matt, thank you so much for being here. I hope you want to come back and be with us.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
all I can say is, it's easy. We all know how one little thing can ruin your day. And so what I try to look at is try not to be the ruin in someone else's day, right? Try to be the light in their day. And if you can make one person smile, that's one more person that wasn't smiling before that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Before we wrap up the show, we've got a minute or two. Are there any events we have coming up? Rex, I know you're involved with a lot of different events. Is there anything coming up that we need to know about?
Well, I just amended the AI and mental health. So what we're looking for right now on the 10th of January around 7 p.m. or 7:30 p.m. Pacific time, we're gathering people who go to aimeetsmentalhealth.com, aimeetsmentalhealth.com, watch a short video, and we're looking for collaborators, because ultimately, we talked about this a little bit, where AI has affected the insurance business and other things, and so it's going to be maybe calling the shots about what is good or not so good mental health, and how that's healthy lifestyles, or healthy people are treated or not treated. So we have an important symposium coming up on the 10th of January. Dr. Fred Moss, psychiatrist Dr. Fred Moss, and myself, and others. So please go to that website that I gave.
Check it out. Okay.
We'll
check that out.
And see if it's for you. If you want to be part of the contributing, group of people who are going to do that. We will be doing other things, but this is the first meeting of where people can collaborate and talk about issues and or potential solutions or upside downside of everything. So I hope you'll join us then. Other than that, happy holidays. Lots of good things coming up and around. Many holidays, Hanukkah's, Christmas, Kwanzaa, all the different New Year's, all the different kinds of things. So you got something? Because then I want to wrap myself up and
wrap yourself up.
You're going to be on my show this weekend.
Oh yeah, when are we doing it?
At 10:10 on Saturday, 10:10 a.m.
Oh, the writers. Your writer. What's it called?
Spotlight.
This Saturday, correct? Yes, absolutely. Thank you. We had it scheduled, and she went off cruising.
I know. I was.
And eventually, he's going to be on the bright side of things too. At Lynn's BS. We
love that.
We postponed. Awesome. Yeah.
So to wrap up the conversation, as a parent, when a child is young, we feed it, and you know why we feed it?
Because we have to.
Because it can't. Well, because it doesn't know how to eat. It knows how to feed, but it doesn't know how to eat or get food for itself. Now, as the child gets older and it starts putting things in its mouth that it shouldn't, we stop it, right? And why do we do that? Because it doesn't know any better. It learns by doing it, and if it takes a poison and dies, it's that learning curve ends. So we try and prevent those things. But the point is, it can't do it, or the child can't do it, and or the child doesn't know any better. Why do we assume that adults should know better, know how, and can do the things because they've reached a certain age? There are plenty of people in the world who, yes, they might be able, should do, blah, 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 but they don't. So it's up to us to help people around us do the things that they don't know how to do or what they can't do. And if we invite more people and elicit from people, good things and wonderful feelings and cooperation and harmony and collaboration, and get people involved in helping people, and I'm not just talking about educating, we're talking about it kind of a systemic thing here, is that you'll see transformation, because people, like everything else, want to grow, and they want to be productive. And when we talk about things like lazy and this, that, and the other, there is a law of the universe, which is a law of conservation, a law of least effort. So if somebody doesn't want to do much, they're just exemplifying that least effort. The key is to figure out how to do things easier, swifter, more simply, without being, overthinking it and convoluted, enforcing and all that kind of stuff. So what Matt and each of us have said here tonight is start locally, start with yourself, get your thoughts in order, and then, turn and just do a kindness. Lastly, I'll say this: my dogs know how to make me feel good. I come home, they know how to make me feel valued and loved and cared for every time I leave the house and come back. Even if I just walk down to the end of the driveway and come back, they're like, "Oh, you're back! I can't believe you're back."
And Rex, can you tell everybody what kind of dogs you have?
I have pit bulls. I've got a pit bull, chocolate lab, and a red nose, blue nose pit bull, and they are the most gentle, kindest, wonderful, smartest things in the world.
And I have met them both, and I have seen them with other dogs, and they are amazing. Yeah. They are amazing, beautiful dogs.
And I'm gonna say something. People always say, "Well, this because of the owner." Absolutely not. These dogs showed up this way. I was blessed with them, who they are. I have nothing to do with it. And people go, "Oh, what beautiful dogs!" And I go, "Look, I had nothing to do with that." So
that's right. That's right. And, if you want to have a look at unconditional love, get a dog. A dog that its sole purpose is to connect.
And if it can do that, then why can't we, who are supposed to be,
Thank you. Yes.
So
absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. I'll come home from work. I'll get on my knees. I'll say hello to the dog. I'll talk in a funny language. How you doing, buddy? Good boy.
Babe,
I'll do
you got
all
a
of
cat.
that.
You got
and
a
I
cat.
will do all of that, but I won't do anything to connect with a human being. And that's
Scott,
the sad
you got a cat. Remember, it's a cat, not
I
a
used
dog.
to have a dog. Now I've got a cat, and Jonesy's just a pain in the ass. So, hey, listen. Kellen, John, Rex, Barry, Sandy, and our new guy, Matt, thank you all for being here. And speaking of responsibility, I want to thank Lynn for always taking responsibility, making sure we're on and taking care of this show and doing all she does. So, Lynn, thank you for that. Seriously.
Love you guys. I love
like
everyone
herding
you guys.
cats.
Yeah, yes. Yes, this is like a room full of children. We just get off something shiny and we're gone. That's it. We're
Here's
done.
for Lynn. This is for Lynn.
Well, love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Matt, for trusting me to be here. Really appreciate that. And everyone, go make a difference.
Oh, there's Alan.
And we'll see you guys next week.
All right.
Stay right here.
Kelly. No, I'll talk to Kellen when we're off the air. Thank
All
you.
right.
Tune in
here,
next
Matt.
week for our
Stay
holiday
with us.
show. We're going to do a holiday show next week. So
Yay. Okay. Hold on.
Keeping me safe and sound.